If the stars controlled you, you could never change. Not your habits, not your reactions, not your destiny. Because control means command. So here's the real question. Why do serious occult systems talk about celestial influence and still insist you have a will that can turn your life around? Tonight, I want to draw one clean line. A line that removes fear, removes superstition, and keeps what's actually useful. And by the end, you'll have a simple way to test this in your own life without turning the sky into an excuse. Let's start with the confusion. Most people treat astrology like a courtroom verdict. Because of that configuration, this will happen. Because of this planet, you are this type of person. Because of that transit, you have no choice. That's not influence. That's surrender. Influence is not a chain. Influence is a current. Think about the sea. A tide can make rowing harder or easier. It can push you off course if you're asleep at the oars. But the tide is not your hands. The sky can be a tide. It can pressure. It can amplify. It can stir. But it does not commit your actions for you. Here's the line. The heavens can shape conditions. They can't replace choice. So what do conditions mean in practical terms? Conditions are the environment your inner world has to navigate. Certain moods feel more available, certain events cluster more easily, certain conversations become more charged, certain temptations feel louder than usual. That's influence. But there's a second layer most people miss. If you don't distinguish between impulse and decision, you'll always feel controlled, because you'll say, I felt it, so I had to do it. That's the trap. A current can tilt your boat. Only you can decide to jump. Now, this is where the system becomes sharp. The old model treats the stars as secondary forces like weather patterns in the invisible world. Useful to observe. Dangerous to worship. Why dangerous? Because the moment you believe the sky causes your vices, you've outsourced your responsibility. And once responsibility is gone, transformation is gone. No inner alchemy works without responsibility. You can't refine anything you refuse to own. So let me give you the two classic mistakes people make when they approach celestial influence. Mistake 1. Fatalism. This will happen to me. I'm under a bad influence, so it's over. I'm built this way. Fatalism feels mystical, but it produces the same result every time. Passivity. Mistake 2. Ego mastery. I rule the stars. I'm above influence. I can force outcomes through sheer will. That also collapses, because influence is real. Conditions are real. Anyone who's practiced long enough knows. Some days feel open, some feel dense. The honest path is the third way. Not fatalism. Not ego. Skill. Skill means you acknowledge the current and you steer anyway. Now let me make this concrete with a simple scene. Imagine a practitioner who checks the sky before an important day. They see heavy signatures, pressure, constraint, friction, and instantly, their mind begins writing a story. Today will go wrong. People will resist me. I'll fail. So they walk into the day already tense. They interpret every delay as proof. Every awkward moment becomes confirmation. And by evening they say, see? The stars controlled everything. But what actually happened? A condition appeared, pressure. Then the mind added a narrative. Then behavior followed the narrative. Then reality mirrored the behavior. Influence didn't become fate. Interpretation did. That's why, in a mature system, the first discipline is not predicting. It's reading without collapsing. Reading without panicking. Reading without excuses. Reading with a steady hand. So how do you do that? Here's a 3-part filter you can apply anytime you feel the stars are controlling me. Filter 1. Is it a condition or a command? A condition is a push, a temperature, a tendency. A command would remove your ability to choose. If you still have options, it's not control. It's a field. Filter 2. Is it an impulse or an act? Feeling anger is not the same as harming someone. Feeling desire is not the same as betrayal. Feeling fear is not the same as quitting. Influence can stir impulses. You still decide the act. Filter 3. Is the story helping you steer or helping you surrender? A good reading gives you leverage. A bad reading gives you a pre-written defeat. If your interpretation makes you smaller, weaker, and passive, it's not wisdom. It's superstition wearing a robe. Now, if you're the kind of person who actually practices, who works with timing, correspondences, and inner refinement, here's the practical payoff of that line. When you treat the sky as influence, you can use it like a map, not a prison. A map doesn't walk for you, but it prevents you from walking blind. So you start using celestial influence in a clean way. If conditions are volatile, you simplify. If conditions are heavy, you pace yourself and commit to essentials. If conditions are expansive, you launch, speak, move, build. If conditions are sensitive, you choose your words like tools. Notice what's missing. No drama, no fear, no blaming, just a readable grid. And this brings us to the most important point. A mature practitioner doesn't ask, "What will happen to me?" He asks, "What is being emphasized, and what kind of person will I be inside it?" That's the whole difference between being ruled and being refined. Now, one last piece, because it ties everything together. The system assumes you are not just a victim inside the world. You are a small world yourself, meaning the same forces you see above, you also carry within patterns, cycles, tendencies. And that means your work is not to fight the sky. Your work is to become someone who can hold more influence without being owned by it. That's alchemy in daily life. Not turning lead into gold in a lab, turning raw reactions into conscious direction. So let's close the loop with the opening question. Do the stars control you? If by control you mean remove your ability to choose, then no, not even close. They influence. They condition. And if you're asleep at the oars, conditions will feel like fate. But if you're awake, if you practice, if you refine, then the sky becomes something else. A rhythm you can work with. A current you can steer through. A language you can read without surrendering your power. You can be influenced without being owned. If this helped you draw the line clearly, you can like and subscribe. More practical Hermetic clarity is coming.